In the cold silence of space, the small ship called Seeker floated behind a dead moon. Its silver-blue surface, once smooth and clean, was now scratched, burned, and broken. The crew inside had not slept in days. Captain Gray sat at the edge of his chair, staring at the blinking lights of the communication screen. His hands, long and thin, shook a little. He knew what he was about to do could change everything, for better or for worse. "Are you sure this is smart, Captain?" asked First Officer Trell. Her large golden eyes reflected the soft red glow of emergency lights. Gray didn't look at her. His voice was flat. "The Morde took 3 of our colonies last month. The homeworld won't last much longer. We've tried everything. Now we try something new." Trell glanced out the window. The stars were cold, distant. But the humans, they were primitive the last time we checked. Weak. Divided. "That was centuries ago," Gray replied. "Maybe they've changed. Maybe not. But we have no choice. One small scout ship cannot stop a death fleet. But maybe, just maybe, they can." He pressed his hand to the console. A pulse of light ran through the wires. The message had been prepared for days. The computer had translated it into simple human languages. It showed images of burning Valen cities, dead ships, and the Morde's strange, insect-like machines. The last part of the message was a short, desperate line. "People of Earth, we need your help." The ship's AI confirmed. Message sent. Trell stood in silence. "What do you think they will send? A scientist? A small team?" "Anything would help," Gray whispered. "Even just their ideas, their point of view," but deep in his heart, he wasn't sure anymore. He had no idea what kind of monsters or heroes humans had become. On the far side of the galaxy, Earth didn't sleep. Deep inside the moon's command station, Admiral James Wilson stood tall, staring through a glass wall. Earth floated outside like a blue gem in the dark, peaceful, beautiful, and unaware of the storm that was coming. Behind him, Dr. Lisa Park read a data tablet, her voice low and calm. "Sir, our AI confirmed it. 98.7% chance this message is real. It's a distress call from a species called the Valen." Wilson turned slowly. His face was calm, but his eyes were hard. "And what kind of threat are they facing?" Commander Foster stepped forward. "They call it the Morde Collective. Looks like a hive mind species. Synthetic biology, plasma weapons, quantum shields, strong. But we've seen worse." Wilson walked to the center of the command room. The air buzzed with quiet voices and tapping fingers. A large hologram floated in front of him. On it, the Morde ships looked like metal insects, tearing smaller Valen ships apart. There was no mercy in their attacks. Just hunger. "Location?" Wilson asked. 40 light-years out, Foster said. "With our jump drives, we could be there in 2 weeks." Dr. Park looked up. "Their message doesn't show they expect much. Maybe 1 ship. A small response. They don't know what we've become." Wilson nodded slowly. "They think we're still small. Divided. Weak." He turned toward his officers. "Schedule a meeting with the Security Council. 0800 tomorrow. And start preparing the 3rd Fleet." 3 days later, the Seeker received a strange signal from Valen High Command. It came with a voice that sounded half shocked, half scared. "Captain, we're detecting a massive energy signature. It's entering Valen space from deep interstellar paths." Gray leaned in, confused. "Is it the Morde?" "No," said the voice. "Different, much bigger. It's made of many ships, and the energy profile matches the planet you contacted. Earth." Gray's chest tightened. He looked at the screen, watching lines of raw power burst from a single source. "What did you ask them for, Captain?" the voice asked. "I just asked for help," Gray whispered. But inside, he felt something twist. He hadn't expected this. Not this size, not this kind of response. If this was humanity's answer to a cry for help, what kind of monsters had they become? Or maybe, what kind of heroes? He had no way of knowing which was worse. The stars outside the Seeker's window were changing. Bright lights flashed across space like distant lightning. The empty silence was now filled with strange signals and coded messages. Something big was coming, and it was coming fast. Captain Gray stood in the command room with Trell beside him. The screen in front of them showed a fleet. No, more than a fleet. It was like a moving wall of metal and power. Hundreds of ships, all moving with perfect coordination, all flying under one banner, Earth. Gray couldn't speak. He just stared at the display, trying to understand. The humans had responded, but not with words. They had answered with warships. They're enormous, Trell whispered. Look at their size. Look at the power levels. I've never seen anything like this. The lead human ship was massive, larger than any Valen city ship. Its hull was dark gray, built for battle. Giant cannons lined its sides, and blue energy burned around its engines. Its name blinked across the screen in strange Earth letters. USS Leviathan. A message came through. It was short and direct. This is Admiral James Wilson of Earth. We received your call. Prepare for contact. Gray swallowed hard. He tried to reply, but his mouth was dry. He took a breath and nodded to Trell, who sent back their docking codes. In less than an hour, a small human ship left the Leviathan and came toward the Seeker. It was fast, clean, and strong. Its metal body shone like a blade. When the airlock opened, the first human stepped through. He was tall, with sharp eyes and a firm voice. His uniform was black with silver lines. The symbol on his chest showed Earth's flag, a blue and green planet inside a ring of stars. 2 soldiers followed him, quiet but alert. I'm Admiral Wilson, the man said. You're Captain Gray? Gray nodded slowly. Yes. Thank you for coming. We didn't expect all this. Wilson looked around the small ship. It was old, worn out, patched with cheap materials. He could see the fear in the crew's eyes. You called for help, Wilson said. Earth answers its calls. Gray hesitated. But why such a large force? We only asked for advice. Maybe one ship to help us fight. Wilson's voice was calm, but there was power in it. That's not how we do things anymore. A cry for help is not just sound. It's a responsibility. We came to stop the Morde. Trell stepped forward. But the Morde are strong. They've never been stopped. Wilson looked at her. His eyes were cold steel. They haven't met us yet. Back aboard the Leviathan, the planning began. Gray and Trell stood in the giant war room, watching 3D maps light up around them. Morde fleets moved like black waves across the galaxy. But now Earth's fleet stood between them and the next Valen colony. Earth's officers were calm and focused. They spoke in short sentences, full of action. They didn't waste time with fear. This is not just rescue, one human commander said. This is control. This is survival. If they reach Earth, billions die. But this isn't your war, Gray said. You don't even know us. Wilson turned to him. We've watched the galaxy for years. We've seen enough. The old humans, yes, they were small, divided. But we grew. We united. We built the AI cores, the Leviathan-class ships, the neural command grid. Trell asked, And your people? Are they afraid of war? Wilson shook his head. We are not the same species you remember. We lost our fear long ago. The first battle came faster than expected. The Morde had picked up the signal Earth sent through space. They didn't wait. A small swarm jumped into Valen space, heading toward the edge of the human fleet. 500 Morde fighters, 2 hive cruisers, an officer reported. Let them come, Wilson said. The Leviathan moved forward with 6 destroyers. Their engines glowed with bright blue light. The fleet formed a tight wall and waited. The battle lasted 12 minutes. The humans didn't speak much. They let their weapons talk. Giant railguns ripped through Morde ships like paper. Energy shields glowed like suns. Drones swarmed with deadly speed, cutting through the black metal bodies of the Morde. The hive cruisers exploded with silent fire. Gray watched in shock. We've never seen them fall so easily. Wilson only gave a small nod. That was the beginning. Trell looked at him. What now? Wilson turned to the stars, his face hard. Now we send a message of our own. The galaxy was quiet, but only for a moment. After the battle, the space around the Leviathan was filled with broken pieces of Morde ships. floating like dead leaves in a dark ocean. Lights blinked across the human warships, scanning every corner, for survivors or hidden traps. But there were none. The Morde had been crushed. Captain Gray sat in the command room of the Seeker, still trying to understand what he had seen. His hands trembled slightly. For years, the Valen had feared the Morde. They had watched entire colonies fall, people disappear, ships vanish without a trace. But the humans had destroyed a Morde swarm in minutes, like they were nothing. Trell entered quietly, her face pale. "They've done what we thought was impossible," she said. Gray nodded. "Yes, but I'm starting to wonder, what kind of power have we brought here?" They both looked out the window. The Leviathan floated in space like a giant beast, strong, silent, watching. Inside the human warship, Admiral Wilson stood before his crew. A large screen showed the galaxy map. Red zones glowed, Morde territory. Blue zones marked human space. Yellow showed the places the Valen and other peaceful species still lived, hiding and hoping. "We cannot wait," Wilson said. "They've seen our signal. The Morde will respond, not with scouts, but with a wave." His voice was calm, but every word carried weight. Now is the time to strike first, before they gather, before they adapt. One officer asked, "Should we wait for Earth's full response fleet?" "No," Wilson said. "That signal was loud, the Morde heard it, and now others have too." "What others?" asked another voice. Wilson turned. "The galaxy is bigger than we think, and our message, our first call to the stars, was sent without full protection, without encryption. It wasn't just Earth that heard it. We're not alone in listening, anymore." Far away, deep inside Morde space, the Queen stirred. The Morde Queen was not like other beings. She was a living mind, built of thousands of voices. She did not speak in words. She spoke in commands, pure thoughts that moved through her swarm like fire. She had heard the human signal, the message sent by the Valen, and worse, the reply sent by Earth. This message was not noise. It was a threat. The Queen's mind reached out, touching every Morde hive across the stars. New orders spread. Ships were built faster, weapons were upgraded, and deep under a black sun, something old began to wake. A weapon the Morde had not used in centuries. The humans had brought war. Now they would taste what true fear looked like. Back near the Valen colony, Gray stood beside Admiral Wilson again. "We just wanted help," Gray said. "We didn't know this would grow so big." Wilson didn't answer right away. He looked at the stars. "You didn't start the war," Wilson said. "But you did open the door. Now we're walking through it." Trell stepped closer. "And what happens when others walk through it too?" That was the real fear now. Gray remembered the old stories. Ancient races that had disappeared. Civilizations that were wiped out before their names were ever written. What if this message had woken more than just the humans? What if it had woken something older? 2 days later, the Seeker picked up a strange signal. It was weak, broken, but definitely not human. Not Morde either. Gray ordered it played through the speakers. The voice was strange, low, echoing like metal grinding against stone. "We heard the call. Long silence broken. The fire returns." "What is that?" Trell asked. Another voice came through, layered over the first, different but just as old. "You should not have spoken. Now all must listen." The screen blinked. A strange symbol appeared. No one knew what it meant, but the fear in the room grew quickly. Wilson watched it quietly. Gray turned to him. "Who are they?" Wilson's face was grim. "I don't know. But I think your message just started something much bigger than any of us expected." In a hidden system, past the edge of known space, 3 massive ships came alive. They had not moved in 1,000 years. Their engines were cold, their weapons silent. Now, they burned again. Old empires, long gone from memory, were waking up. The humans had shown strength. The Morde had answered with fury. But now, even the forgotten powers of the galaxy were paying attention. All because of one small message, a cry for help, one that never should have been sent. And now, the galaxy was listening. The air inside the Seeker felt heavy. Every screen showed strange signals from deep space. Some came from known systems, but others came from places no one had ever explored. It was clear now. Their message had reached much farther than anyone thought. Captain Gray stood in the command room with Trell. She watched the data scroll. Across the screens. "These aren't just Morde responses," she said. "There are other ships. Other signals. Older than anything we've recorded." Gray nodded slowly. "They're waking up." Trell looked at him. "Who?" Gray replied. "Everyone who was asleep. Everyone who forgot the stars." Inside the Leviathan, Admiral Wilson met with his top scientists and tacticians. The room was quiet. Each officer had seen the reports, unknown energy readings, strange ship designs, and languages that had never been translated. Dr. Evelyn Cho, one of Earth's top xenolinguists, spoke first. "We've translated part of the message that came 2 days ago. It's not a warning, it's a summons." Wilson narrowed his eyes. "Summons?" "Yes," she said. "A call to gather, an invitation for old empires. It was hidden in the code, a kind of shared frequency used in ancient space civilizations, long before the Morde ever became powerful." Wilson crossed his arms. "You're saying our message woke up more than enemies?" "I'm saying it triggered something ancient," she replied. "Something waiting." One of the military officers stepped forward. "So, we may be facing more than one war?" "Not yet," Wilson said. "But soon." Out in the dark edges of space, a strange fleet moved in silence. The ships were not made of metal or stone. They looked like living things. Their skin shimmered in the starlight, and their engines didn't make a sound. They didn't attack. They didn't speak. They just watched. These were the Orinth. Once rulers of 1,000 galaxies, the Orinth had vanished after a great war long ago. Their kind believed in waiting, watching, choosing the right moment to return. Now, they had heard the call. The human voice. A voice filled with defiance and hope. It reminded them of their own past. The leader of the Orinth, called the Speaker of Silence, looked into the void. "Let us see if this new fire can burn," the speaker whispered. "Let us see if the children of Earth are ready to rise or ready to fall." And their ships turned toward the center of the storm. Back on the Valen colony, panic had begun to spread. Refugees from nearby systems arrived in old transports, telling stories of entire moons disappearing, of stars suddenly going dark, and of strange ships that came and vanished without a trace. Captain Gray walked through the landing bays, helping guide the new arrivals. He saw fear in their eyes. Children cried. Elders whispered prayers. Trell came running with a datapad. "You need to see this," she said. She showed him an image. A broken Morde hive ship, not destroyed by humans, but torn apart by something else. Its pieces floated near a dead planet. Gray frowned. "This wasn't us." "No," Trell said. "And it wasn't the humans either." That meant someone else was already attacking the Morde. Gray looked up at the stars. "What have we brought here?" On the Leviathan, Admiral Wilson sat in a dark room, watching an old video recording from Earth. A time when humans first launched probes into space, hoping someone would answer. He shook his head. "We always wanted to know if we were alone," he said quietly. "Now we know the answer." The door opened. Dr. Cho entered, holding a file. "We have new data," she said. One of the unknown fleets sent a reply. Wilson stood. "Show me." The message played. It wasn't words. It was an image, an ancient map of the galaxy, showing old territories, lost civilizations, and one marked zone flashing in red. Earth. Wilson's heart sank. The meaning was clear. Someone remembered Earth. And they were coming back. Not as allies, not as friends. Above a dying star, 3 ships floated in a perfect triangle. They belonged to the Carrick's Dominion, a forgotten empire known in legends as the Scorchers of Light. Their weapons didn't fire bullets or lasers. They destroyed suns. They had not answered any signal in 10,000 years. But now, they moved again. Because they had heard a voice they remembered. The voice of a new challenger. Earth had called out. The galaxy had listened. And now, judgment was coming. Captain Gray stood on a high platform, looking at the sky with Trell. "Can we still stop this?" she asked. He was quiet for a long time before answering. "No," he said. "But maybe we can survive it." Because now, the fight wasn't just about the Morde. It was about what came after, and what had been waiting in the dark for far too long. You said, the sky above Valen was no longer peaceful. Huge defense towers lit up the horizon, and hundreds of human ships floated like steel giants above the colony. Everyone was preparing for war, but no one knew who the real enemy was anymore. Captain Gray stood on the bridge of the Seeker, watching the traffic above. Transports carried weapons, soldiers, food, and even families trying to escape. Fear was everywhere, but no one turned back. Everyone knew. It was too late. Trell walked in holding a new report. "They're getting closer," she said. "Not just the Morde, the others too. The Carricks, the Orinth, and something we still can't name." Gray didn't look at her. His eyes stayed on the stars. "We shouted into the dark," he said. "Now the dark is answering." Deep in space, the Morde Queen screamed. Her hive had lost thousands of ships in only a few days. They were not ready for what came after the human message. They expected weak resistance. But now, ancient powers had awoken. The Queen stared at a screen showing a broken hive planet. The surface burned with strange blue fire. Fire that didn't come from any human weapon. It came from something much older. "Who dares?" she hissed. "Who dares to strike the Morde?" One of her servants, half machine, crawled forward. The signal. It reached the deep void. The old ones. They return. The Queen's rage boiled. "We will crush them too," she spat. "We are the swarm. We never kneel." But in her heart, for the first time in centuries, she felt doubt. Inside the Leviathan, Admiral Wilson paced back and forth. The war room was silent except for the hum of computers. Everyone waited for orders. The enemy was now many. Not just the Morde, but others. Powerful, strange, and unpredictable. A young officer spoke up. "Sir, should we cancel the signal? Maybe we can shut it off." Wilson stopped. He turned slowly. "It's too late. The message has already spread. Across the galaxy. Across time." Dr. Evelyn Cho looked up from her tablet. "They've heard it. All of them. The Morde, the ancient ones. Even ghosts." "Ghosts?" someone asked. "Civilizations that vanished long ago," she said. "They didn't die. They just went silent. Waiting. Watching. Now they're coming back." Wilson sat down. "Then we need allies." On a dead planet filled with ruins, a ship landed quietly. It wasn't human. It wasn't Morde. It belonged to the Varn, a hidden race that stayed, silent for over 20,000 years. The Varn were known in forgotten stories as the Judges. They never chose sides. They only watched wars, then came to destroy the side that brought chaos. But this time, they chose to answer the call. One Varn elder walked into the ruins, placing a metal stone into a circle on the ground. It lit up with green fire. "The time has returned," he whispered. "The test begins again." Back on Valen, Captain Gray and Trell sat in a dark room, looking at the old galaxy map again. Earth was glowing red. Other parts blinked. Blue, green, yellow. Each color showing a different force. Some were friendly. Most were not. "What if this is the real war?" Trell asked. "Not just humans against Morde, but order against chaos?" Gray stared at her. "Then we better choose the right side." Suddenly, an alert buzzed. A message from the Leviathan. Trell opened it. Her face went pale. "New ship entering the system. It's massive. No ID. It's not attacking. Just waiting." Gray stood quickly. "Show me." A screen lit up. A huge black ship floated near the outer edge of the system. It had no windows, no markings, just glowing lines that shifted like waves. It wasn't Morde. It wasn't Carricks. It was something else. A message arrived from the ship. One sentence. "Earth has spoken. We come to listen." Trell looked at Gray. "Do we answer?" Gray didn't blink. "Yes." She typed back a reply. "Then come in peace. Or not at all." The black ship moved forward, slowly, carefully, like a giant animal approaching a fire. Human warships locked weapons, but the ship didn't respond. Instead, it stopped and sent a second message. Peace. For now. But the galaxy remembers, and it is watching. Everyone on the Leviathan and Seeker read the message. They all felt the same chill in their spine. This wasn't just war. It was something bigger. A test. A question. Was Earth ready to stand or fall? Later that night, Captain Gray sat alone in his quarters. He held the small coin his daughter gave him before he left Earth. He stared at the stars outside. We asked if we were alone, he whispered. We should have asked if we were ready, because now the answer was coming, and it didn't care about hope or fear or who sent the first message. It only cared about one thing: who deserved to survive. The stars were no longer quiet. The message sent from Earth had spread across the galaxy like fire in dry grass. Now many eyes watched the human race, some with interest, some with fear, others with hunger. In the control room of the Leviathan, Admiral Wilson stood in front of the galaxy map. Dots blinked red and yellow, hostile ships moving through space. Blue dots showed human colonies and allies. But now there were green dots too, unknown, unnamed. Ships that didn't respond to messages, but didn't attack either. They're waiting, Dr. Evelyn Cho said. Watching us. Judging us. Wilson nodded slowly. They heard our voice, and now they want to see our strength. On the surface of Valen, Captain Gray stood on the high wall of the defense base. The ground below was filled with soldiers, tanks, and heavy weapons. Every human colony had sent help. From Mars, from Titan, from Alpha 3, and even deep Earth bunkers. For the first time in history, humans stood together. Trell walked up beside him. The strange ship. It's still there. Just floating. Let it watch, Gray said. We've got work to do. A loud sound echoed from the sky. Dozens of Morde ships entered the atmosphere, followed by smaller drones. The real battle had begun. Gray grabbed his helmet. Tell command, no more waiting, it's time. He jumped into a command rover and drove toward the battlefield. In orbit, the Leviathan fired first. Powerful cannons lit up space, hitting the Morde ships hard. But the Morde had changed. They adapted fast. Within minutes, they returned fire with stronger weapons, breaking through the first human shields. Admiral Wilson barked orders. Move Fleet Bravo to flank. Charge the pulse cannon. One of the officers shouted, Sir, unknown ships are moving. Everyone turned to the screen. The black ship, the one that had sent the peaceful message, had started to move, slowly, carefully. Then it turned and attacked a Morde battleship. The room went silent. Did they just help us? Someone whispered. Another officer spoke. Not just them. More ships. Different designs. Unknown technology. They're fighting. But not for the Morde. Dr. Cho stood in shock. They're testing us, helping just enough. They want to see what we'll do. Wilson nodded. Then let's show them. On the ground, explosions shook the land. The Morde charged in waves, their claws slicing through. Steel and fire. Human soldiers stood firm, using tanks and exosuits to hold the lines. Blood and metal fell together. Captain Gray's voice came through the comms. Don't give them an inch. This is where we make our stand. Trell's team was pinned near the East Ridge. Morde drones flew over them, dropping bombs. One soldier screamed, We need backup! Suddenly, a bright green light shot down from the sky. One of the drones exploded, then another. A strange silver craft hovered above, firing beams of light. Who is that? Trell shouted. Her radio crackled. No ID, unknown ship. It's not attacking us, Gray's voice returned. They're helping us, but we still have to fight. Keep going. The battle raged for hours. Fire turned the night into a bright red dawn. The Morde didn't stop coming. But neither did the humans. They fought with everything. Bullets, blades, fire, and fists. Admiral Wilson looked at the final report. Morde fleet breaking. Falling. Back, we did it, Dr. Cho leaned over. They're not just retreating, they're scared. Good, Wilson said. They should be. But in the darkness beyond the galaxy, something else moved. A being older than the stars. Something that had watched galaxies rise and fall. It had been sleeping. Silent. But the message woke it too. It didn't speak in words. It spoke in thoughts, in waves, in the pull of gravity itself. It saw Earth. It saw the humans. It saw their courage and their pride. And it whispered into the void. They think they are ready. A new light appeared in the galaxy map. Not red, not blue, not green. Black. No. Signal. No energy. Just darkness. Coming. On Earth, the child looked up at the stars. His mother stood behind him. "Are we safe now?" the boy asked. She smiled softly, brushing his hair. "For now." The boy pointed at a strange star. "That one's moving." She looked closer. Her smile faded. It wasn't a star. It was a ship, and it was coming straight toward Earth. Back on the Leviathan, Wilson stood in silence. The reports were clear. A new enemy, unknown. Stronger than the Morde. Stronger than anything they had faced. Dr. Cho whispered. "It heard our message too." Wilson didn't move. "Then we better write our answer. In steel." Captain Gray stood beside Trell on the smoking battlefield. Morde bodies covered the ground. Human banners flew high. But the sky was still not safe. "What now?" Trell asked. Gray looked up. "We wait," he said. "And we fight again." Because the message they sent had opened a door. And now, everything was coming through it. Captain Gray stood on the broken wall of Valen's main base. Smoke still rose from the battlefield. Burned machines and alien bodies lay everywhere. Soldiers moved slowly now. Tired, wounded, but alive. They had won. But there was no celebration. Above them, the sky was quiet. The strange green ship that had helped them was gone. The stars looked the same. But something had changed. Gray looked up, then down at the message device strapped to his wrist. The original signal Earth had sent weeks ago was still flashing in the background. He turned to Trell, who was helping a wounded soldier. "Do you feel it?" She paused, breathing hard. "Yeah, like the air's waiting." Gray nodded. "It's not over." Deep in space, Admiral Wilson sat in the command room of the Leviathan. His hands were still shaking, not from fear, but from the weight of what he had seen. The Morde were strong, but they were not the worst. The unknown allies had helped humans win. But they had not introduced themselves. No names, no warnings. They had arrived, attacked the Morde, and disappeared. Now the black dot on the star map was growing. A silent, dark object was moving through space. Not fast, not loud, but steady. Unstoppable. One officer said, "Sir, no energy signature, no light. It eats signals. No one can track it. It's just coming." Wilson rubbed his face. "Get Earth Command and prepare the War Council." Dr. Evelyn Cho entered the room. She looked pale. "I ran the scan again," she said. "That thing, it's not metal. It's not alive either. It's something else." "What is it?" Wilson asked. She looked at him. "I don't know." On Earth, the United Planetary Council had gathered. For the first time in history, all world leaders, generals, and scientists sat in one room. They watched the replay of the original message. It was simple. We are here. We are human. We are ready to meet the galaxy. Now they listened to the new reports. The message had traveled far beyond known space. It had reached civilizations who lived in silence, in the dark, in places humans should never have touched. One general stood. "We must send a warning to all colonies. Prepare for evacuation if needed." Another shouted, "No, we fight." A scientist whispered, "How do we fight something we don't understand?" Third voice said, "Maybe we can talk to it." The room fell silent. Then a hologram of Admiral Wilson appeared on the screen. "No," he said. "We tried talking. That's how this started. Now we must prepare to survive." On the edge of the galaxy, at Deep Space Station Orion, a group of engineers and researchers worked in secret. They were building something new, Something never built before. A massive weapon. A defense system that could protect entire star systems. At once. They called it Project Fortress. The lead engineer, Commander Gia, wiped sweat from her face. We have 1 month. Maybe less. If we fail, Earth falls. One of her assistants said, "What if this new thing isn't hostile?" She looked at him. We sent the first message. That was hope. Now it's time to prepare for reality. Back on Valen, Captain Gray walked among the wounded. The soldiers looked up to him. Some had lost arms, others had lost friends, but all still stood. He gathered them in the square. "You fought well," he said. "You saved this world." They said nothing, just listened. But this war, it isn't finished. We called the galaxy with one message. Now, the galaxy is calling back. Some are allies, some are enemies, but one thing is clear. He raised his hand. No one is going to save us. We must be the storm now. We must become the warning. Trell stepped beside him. What's the plan? Gray looked at the sky. We build, we train, and when the dark comes, we hit it so hard it remembers Earth forever. Far away beyond the stars, the dark shape moved. It passed near dead planets, suns that had burned out long ago. It didn't stop. It didn't change direction. Inside it, there was no crew, no captain, no voice, just ancient intelligence. Something born before time. Something that had destroyed thousands of civilizations. And now it had heard the voice of Earth. It remembered another time, another signal, another foolish species that had said, "We are ready." That species no longer existed. Now Earth was next. But something was different. This time, the dark felt resistance, fire, anger, steel. It paused, just for a moment. Then it moved again, straight for the heart of humanity. And far below, on Earth, a boy looked at the sky again. The same boy who saw the moving star. This time, he said nothing. He just watched. Because somehow, even a child could feel it. The final battle was coming.